Hey, and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to learn how to make this cradle purse. It's absolutely adorable, and I know that any little person is going to absolutely love them. I think big people will like them too. I think I need one in my size. There is a written pattern to go along with this video tutorial. I will leave a link for you in the description box. And your cradle also turns into start again. And your cradle also turns into this really cute bag. As you can see, the hood of the cradle just folds down, and you've got all this storage for all those little bits and pieces that you would store in your cradle bag. I just cannot wait to see what you do with this video tutorial. Please join our Facebook page. I will put a link for you in the description box. Please subscribe if you want to see more video tutorials coming out in the future. You can check me out on Instagram and Facebook. All the links that you need are in the description box below the video. So let's get started on the lesson. For our supplies, we're going to need 2 stitch markers. You can use locking stitch markers, spare bits of yarn, any stitch markers that you have. So we're going to need 2 of those. You can do it without the stitch markers if you are an advanced crocheter, but trust me, it just makes life easier if you've got them. You're going to need a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, a crochet hook to go with your yarn. You want something that's going to give you firm tension. This yarn recommends a 5.5mm crochet hook, but I am going to be using a 4.5, so that is 2 sizes smaller than what is recommended. You could use 8. This is a worsted weight number 4 yarn. It's also equivalent to a 10 ply or an Aran weight yarn. So if you're going to use a DK, which is equivalent to an 8 ply, or a number 3 light worsted weight, I would suggest a 3.5mm crochet hook, which is also a F size crochet hook. For the tutorial today, I'm going to be using Red Heart Super Saver. I've just got lots of this in my stash, so that's what I'm going to use. But like I said, you can use a DK 8 ply or number 3 weight yarn if that's what you have on hand. If you're going to use the thinner weight yarn, you could do 2 strands at the same time. I plan to give this one to my niece. She's turned 2 a couple of months ago. And I plan to give the other one to her little friend. And I cannot think of his name. He's absolutely adorable. She's got a little friend. So what we need to do is chain 20. So grab your crochet hook and make a slip knot however you do yours. So if you want to make it bigger or smaller than what I've got, you can add less chains if you want it smaller, or more chains if you want it bigger. But also we can add more or less increase rounds. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oops. 18, 19, 20. If you accidentally miss one or add an extra one, it's really not going to matter in this pattern. The amount of chains it's not really important, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not, don't have to do an exact number, but I've chosen 20. After we have our 20 chains, we want to do 3 double crochets in the second chain from the crochet hook. This is this is not the first one. Don't count the one that's on your crochet hook. That's the first and that's the second. So we want to work 3 all together. But after the first one, we're going to place a stitch marker in there. We want to do 2 more stitches. In each chain across, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. My chains might look like they've been used already. That's because they have. I filmed up to the 4th row and realised I was doing it wrong. So I'm just restarting. 1 half double crochet all the way to the end. You could use a single crochet for this project if you really wanted to. That's totally fine. You may need a couple of more increase rounds and a few more rounds on the sides of your bag, but you could use single crochet if you prefer. When we get to the last chain, we're going to do 3 half double crochet into that chain, and we're going to place a stitch marker into the first stitch. So we want to work 2 more half double crochets into the end stitch there, which is our chain. And part B of round 1 is we're going to work on the other side of the chain. So normally you might do a chain and then crochet back across there, but this time we're just going to turn it around so that we're working down the other side of the chain. And we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each chain across. See how this one here has got a big hole? There's some stitches coming out. We don't want to go into that one, otherwise we're going to put too many stitches in our round. So the next chain is here. That's where we've already been. The next chain is there. I'm going to crochet over my tail so I don't need to sew it in later. And in each chain across, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. So do this all the way across and pause the video and I'll see you when we are there. When we get to the end, we don't want to work in this chain just here because this is the first chain that we worked into. If you turn it the other way, you can see the 3 half double crochets we did went into that chain. So we don't want to go into that one, we want to join over here. And we want to join to the first half double crochet. So we're going to put our crochet hook in there. It's the one that we've got with the stitch marker in it. And then work a slip stitch. We're going to chain, so we're on round 2, we're going to chain 1. This does not count as a stitch here and throughout the pattern. Into the next stitch, which is our marked stitch, I'm just going to pull that out. Sorry, in the same stitch, it's not the next, it's the same stitch. We are going to work 2 half double crochets. But we're going to put our stitch marker in the first one that we do. And work another one in that same stitch. Into the next one we are going to work 2 half double crochets. This is an increase because we're working 2 stitches instead of 1. And in the next stitch we're also going to do an increase, which is 2 half double crochets instead of 1. And they're the increases that we're going to do in the end. It does change as we go, but it's always 2 stitches in the same stitch. Along the straight edge here, we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch. And we're going to continue across until we get to the next stitch marker. So pause the video and I will meet you when we are at the next stitch marker. When we get to the marked stitch, we want to work 2 half double crochets in there, and we're going to put our stitch marker in after we've done the first stitch. So we want to work another one in that space, in that stitch, sorry. Into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, we want to work 2 half double crochets. Oops, I've just split my yarn, hang on. So that's 2, and then in the next stitch we're going to work another 2 stitches. Along the straight side here, we're going to work all the way across until we get to our stitch marker, and we're going to join the round. And what we want to do is work 1 half double crochet in each stitch on the straight sides. So you can see here you've got a straight side and the straight side. We always just do 1 half double crochet until we get to the frilly part of the bag, and that's different, but up until then it's just 1 stitch across until we get to our increase section. So pause the video and I'll meet you when we're at the end of the round. When we get to the end of the round, we are going to join with the slip stitch. So in that stitch here, this is the first stitch because we had a stitch marker in it, and we're going to go in there and make a slip stitch. Into this same stitch, we want to work 2 half double crochets. Make a chain 1, does not count as a stitch, and work 2 half double crochets in there. And I apologise for my stitch marker hitting the bench. I'll try and do that the least amount of times possible. So we're going to put our stitch marker into the first stitch that we did. I just did 2 there, but we're going to put it in the first one. And into the next 5 stitches, I'm just going to double check this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, in the next 5 stitches, so it's 6 in total, we've already done the first one. But in the next 5 stitches, we're going to work 2 half double crochets, so it's an increase in every stitch. So into the next 5. So that's 1. 2. The next one for 2 stitches, that's 3. Into the next one for 2 stitches, that's 4. And into the next one for 2 stitches, that's 5. So from the stitch marker around, we should have 12 stitches. Let's see if I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, yeah, I did it right. Now across here, again, it's a straight side. So what we're going to do, you already know, 1 half double crochet in each stitch across until we get to our stitch marker. I was just checking that, just to make sure there was a stitch marker, but there is, because one of the times it's a join. So this time it's across to the stitch marker, 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and I'll meet you when we're at the stitch marker. Oh dear. So I don't even know what I'm saying now. Just pause the video and I'll meet you when we're over here. I'm up to my stitch marker, so I'm just going to take that out so I can see better. We're going to work 2 half double crochets in the next 6 stitches. This one we want to do 1 stitch. I'm telling you like this because if you're a beginner, you may not be able to, if I say, oh, just go along and then move your stitch marker, you may not be able to tell where that very first stitch was that we did for the increase. So I'm telling you to move it at the start. It just makes life easier. So in the next 5 stitches, because we just did the first one for a total of 6, in the next 5 stitches we're going to work 2 half double crochets in each of the next 5 stitches. So that's 2 into that stitch, so 2 in the next one, so that's our the second one, third, fourth and fifth. A lot of increases, my yarn's stuck. So I'm just going to make sure I've done 6, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Each stitch across until we get to the end of the round, which is here, we're going to work 1 half double crochet. Pause the video and I'll see you when we are ready to join. I'm at the end of the round and I'm going to join to the stitch marker stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to half double crochet into that same stitch. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in. So we've got 2 in that stitch, and in the next 11, because we want a total of 12 stitches that we've increased into, I'm going to make a increase. My yarn is still getting stuck. So into the next, what have we done? That's 1. So in the next 11 stitches, we're going to do an increase in each one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's a lot on this one, 10 and 11. You can always double check, and if you've done too many, that's okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What I'm counting is the holes. There's bigger holes here. And I know there's 12. So we can pop that back on our crochet hook, and then we're going to do 1/2 double crochet all the way across until we get to the next stitch marker. So pause the video and I'll see you when we are over here. I am up to the next stitch marker, and into the next 12 stitches we are going to work 2 1/2 double crochets. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and we're going to do that 12 times in total. So in the next 11 stitches we are going to work 2 1/2 double crochets. I won't count this time because it can be annoying when people count on tutorials. So I'm going to count now. That's 1, 2. So keep going until we have a total of 12. I've totally lost count now. That'll teach me for not counting. I'm just going to chuck some in and then count them. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just double check. Okay, so I have my 12 increases, and in each stitch across until we get to a stitch marker we're going to work 1 1/2 double crochet, so we don't need to count, which is awesome. So do this all the way across, doing 1 1/2 double crochet in each stitch. If I'm crocheting too fast for you in any video, up here on a mobile phone or a cell phone there will be a couple of dots, it's probably 3 dots, or there'll be something on the screen here. If you click that you can adjust the speed. Go into speed setting and you can adjust the speed if I'm going too fast. If I'm going too slow you can speed me up as well. And if you're on a PC, just here on the screen, or maybe just below the video screen just here, there will be a cog setting like a settings cog. Click on that and you can also adjust the speed there. It's really handy if you're up to a bit and you know what you're doing or something, and you can just speed it up. Speaking of which, pause the video and I'll see you when we're ready to join. I'm up to the stitch marker, so I'm just going to pop that out so I can join to there. You already know what you're doing anyway, so join that in. Now if you want to make this bigger, I'm just going to measure it for you as soon as I can find my tape measure. My tape measure that made me giggle and giggle. That was yesterday. So hopefully today we have a better day with it not. It's making me laugh just think about it. Oh, what's the word? Oh, retracting when we don't want it to. On what type of yarn you want to use. If you're using the thinner weight yarn, even if you're using the 10 point. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Is there something wrong with this tape measure? I think there might be. Oh, why is this so funny? I have no idea. The base of compose oneself. I'm still smiling, I don't know why. I'm just putting this tape measure away before someone gets hurt. Mine's 8 inches long. This is no stretching or anything. Approximately 20 centimeters, and it is 3 inches 3 inches wide, which is what, about 7.5, 8 centimeters. We're going to work another round of no increasing. Pop that aside. We're going to work a round of no increasing just to even that off, and then we're going to start our sides. So you will have one more round after this. What we're going to do now is we're going to work 1/2 double crochet in every stitch around. So we're going to chain 1, and in that same stitch we are going to work 1/2 double crochet. There's no need to keep your stitch markers in anymore. As you can see, I didn't put mine back in. So we're just working 1/2 double crochet in each stitch around. Pause the video and I'll meet you when we are back around. If you put your stitch marker back in, that will remind you where the end of the round is. You should be able to see it, but I'm going to do it because I know I'll get carried away and just crochet right over it, even though it stands out like you know what. I'm going to remove the other one because I don't need that at all. It stands out, but if you're not paying attention, especially if you're watching TV, you could just crochet right across and not even know. Trust me. Been there, done that. Okay, so all the way around, and I'll meet you when we're ready to join. Now that we have done our one round of just every stitch. Oh, I forgot to show you how to join. It's the same as all the previous rows we've just done. This is now 23 centimeters, and that is approximately 9 inches. So we've gained almost an inch. It's just under 9 inches. And this is 4 inches across, which is approximately 10 centimeters. Looks awesome. Now that we have got our base done, this is an optional step. If you want to have a double base, that's a guitar, isn't it? Not in this tutorial. If you want a double base, I'll show you on this first prototype that I made. You can't really tell it's double base, but I've made a double base. I readjusted these ends, but what I've done, so you can see, you can't really tell, but this is one base and then the other base is in here, and I've stitched 2 of them together to give it a more sturdy base, because just with the one it's quite flimsy. And so I made this one with 2 of these. So you've got to make 2 of these. This is optional though, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's got 2 of these, and then when I've stitched them, or crochet, I'm pretty sure I crocheted them together, I've left this opening. You can leave the opening anywhere. You could leave it at the foot of the cradle, at the head of the cradle, on the side, whatever you prefer. And you can put some cardboard that is the same shape as the base in there, or you could use a plastic. I don't know if you have this all the way around the world, but we have these what we call green bags, and they're reusable bags. They have a plastic rectangle in the bottom that's removable, and it's to do your grocery shopping. You put all your groceries in there. So it has this plastic base. That would be perfect. You could cut out, you've got an old bag that's an old bag. What has got into me in this tutorial? If you've got an old bag that you want to chuck out, you can use a plastic base in there, or I don't know, like, give us some ideas. You've got any ideas for what to put in there? Put it in the comments section below. But because there's a hole, you can make it removable. So if you just got thick cardboard, shove that in there. And then once you're using the bag, you could put a button on there. I'm actually just going to leave it like that. If you make a little blanket or something to put in there or anything, it's not going to matter. If you've got a little child that you're going to give this to, maybe stitch it. No, you wouldn't stitch it because then you can't get it out. If it's plastic, you could totally close it all the way, because when you wash this is why it's got a removable thing. When you wash it, the plastic base is not going to fall apart. If you wash it with a cardboard base, it's going to fall apart, so you can pull it out. We now have 2 of the bases for our cradle bag, or you may have 1. It just depends on what option you chose. And if you're choosing the 2 base option, we're going to join them together. I'm going to use a contrasting colour, so I'm going to use the yellow, because I think it's going to be easier for you to see where I'm joining. I'm going to leave my yarn attached to one of the last one that I made. This is the second one I've made. I'm going to leave my yarn attached to that. So I'm actually going to just put a stitch marker through that loop so it doesn't unravel. So what we want to do is these are facing right sides up. So the side where we crocheted is facing up. And one of them you want to flip upside down because you want the nice side on the bottom of your bag. And then we're going to join them together, and then the other nice side is facing up. So when you look into the cradle, you're looking at the nice side. So I'm going to get my contrast colour, and I'm just lining the bases up so that they are even. I'm going to start over here. So when I finish joining, one end of my cradle is the cradle base is open. You can choose anywhere really. Like the other one, I have got the side open. The first one, the yellow one that I showed you, that's already made. I've got the side open on that one, but I think if we leave the end open, it'll be easier to put the insert in rather than trying to stick it in sideways. I'm going to start over here, crochet around, and then we'll finish over here somewhere so this end will be open. I think this contrast colour is actually going to look really nice. So I've got my 2 layers, and I'm going to go through 2 loops. I'm just picking roughly where it stops the curve, so about there. Go through 2 loops on that one, and then go to your other one and go through 2 loops, but don't go through this one because that's the third loop, or the back loop. The 2 loops are actually there. See that? So we just want to make sure that, I'm just going to double check because I think I moved mine. We're going to join, let's go through 2 loops and 2 loops. So what we're going to do, into the next stitch, we're going to place our yarn through 2 loops on one base and 2 loops on the other base. We're going to pull that through, and we're going to work this all the way around, leaving that gap. So that we have somewhere to insert our base, like our cardboard or the plastic or whatever you've chose to put in the bottom. Don't work them too tight, otherwise it will make it all sort of crumple up. And then go to the back one. So you should have a total of 4 loops on your crochet hook there where you've put your crochet hook through. So just work this all the way around, and you're going to stop around about here, sort of line it up of that, just so you've got an end open so you can put an insert in there. Okay, so pause the video and I'll meet you when we are finished. So I've worked it till it's about even, and I've got the opening here, the rest is all joined together. And because I've used a different colour, because I'm a bit OCD like that, I want this yellow to continue all the way around. So what I'm going to do is just slip stitch through that first layer. This layer here is going to be inside our cradle, so it won't matter too much. Again, if you can't handle it, I probably won't be able to. You could just slip stitch on just that layer and it will just continue the pattern all the way around. I am going to have to finish it off. I just noticed that if I pull it to continue just on one layer, we're going to get this yellow strand. So I'm going to finish that off. It will have more ends to sew in, but hey. This yellow one, I'll just have to sew that in after. So I'm going to continue on with my yarn. Just pop it back on the crochet hook. Leave the tails at the back. And just where we were going under the 2 loops on the first layer, I'm just going to continue doing that, but just on that one layer. Simple. So I'm just going to do this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Pause the video and I'll see you there. So when we get to the end, we are going to go into where the first slip stitch is, we're going to go under the loops that adjust on the first section, and then we're going to grab our yarn and we're going to pull it through and make another slip stitch. Split my yarn. This yarn does not normally split like this. I think it's because I'm using a crochet hook that's a lot smaller than I should be. That's the only thing I can put it down to. So we're going to try again. Go under the very first slip stitch, through the 2 loops, sorry, I had it in the wrong spot, through the 2 loops, the green ones there, and then pull that yarn through and make a slip stitch. That's better. And we're going to pull on that. And we're going to grab our yarn needle. I'm going to do this straight away because I'll forget how to show you how to do it. Going to grab our yarn needle, and into the first slip stitches, which is here, we're going to go between the 2 loops there, between the 2 loops, and we're just going to push that through, and I'm just going to pull it out the other side. And that hides that yarn tail, but also makes it look like it just continues around. This yarn tail that's sticking out here, we are going to grab that one. And we're going to go into the, it's coming out of this stitch, we're going to go in the next stitch and just pull that through. See, it just makes it look like we continued on with our slip stitch around. I'm just going to tie these 2 in a knot, and then you can sew them in wherever you like. And I'm just going to pop them back in there, and I'll fix those, sew them in later. Hey there. So we now have the base. We've got this cool, this is very Aussie colours, yellow and green. Well, green and gold is our Aussie colours, but it's close enough. This is the inside of the cradle, and this is the outside, looking very, very cool. Putting our yarn back on our crochet hook, and we're going to work a chain 1 just to bring us up to the right height. And we're only going to work into the top loop. I guess technically it's the back loop if it was flat, but it's the top loop of the slip stitches that we've got below. You can see here you've got 2 loops of your slip stitch, and we are going to work into the top one there. So yarning over, going into that slip stitch, and then work your half double crochet. Working into the next one, going into that top loop only. We're going to work around, and we're working a half double crochet in each slip stitch around. And this is going to start to create the sides of our bag. We don't do any increasing at all on the sides of our bag, so we're just going to half double crochet around. Just making sure you're only getting that slip stitch, not any other part of the crochet. So pause the video and I'll meet you when we are all the way around and coming back and ready to join. Don't forget, this little one here is a slip stitch, and you need to go in there. Just sometimes a last stitch of anything really just hides sometimes. And we're going to join into the first half double crochet, so going into there, and then a slip stitch to join. The next section is just going to be all half double crochet. You'll notice that this is starting to come up, but that's actually the outside of our bag, so it doesn't matter, you can do it at the end, but it's actually going to be that way, and the crochet is going to come up like that. And you get this really cool detail just there. But to crochet it, it's easier to do it inside out. So the next bit, there's 2 options. It's all going to be half double crochet. You can work in a continuous round, if you don't want the little seam, there's a little seam, you can probably just see that. It's not too bad, but there is a seam, so when you join at the end of each round, it does create this seam. If you don't want that, you can not join at the end of each round, so that's actually what I'm going to do, and I'll show you how to do that. So what we want to do is just pull out that slip stitch. Oops, I've accidentally pulled out the last stitch again, so I'll just pop that back in. And instead of slip stitching, I'm going to work straight into that first half double crochet. I'm going to work a single crochet just for this one here, because what it does is makes it less of a jump up to the next round. It just gives it a smoother transaction. And we're going to just half double crochet in each stitch around. What you want to do, if you've got a stitch marker somewhere, I've got some yarn here, so I'm just going to use that. It's just an odd bit of yarn. And I'm just going to place it where our join was. So it was where we did that single crochet here. So just poke it in there anywhere. Pull that through. And what this stitch marker is going to do is going to remind us where we started the round, and it'll let us know when we need to finish. Where we need to finish when we've done all our rounds to make the sides. So just pop that on there. I've just loosely tied that on. So from now on, just go half double crochet until we create the sides of the bag. But again, it's up to you how many rounds you do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the pattern in any way. The only thing that it will do is when we are creating the valance, which is this part here, you will need to do the same amount of rows that you did on your bag, or enough rows that when you fold it down, it goes down to the same level as the bottom of the bag. But that's easy. You just would add another row. I keep saying row. It's round. So continue on, and I'll meet you when we have the sides of the bag done, and then the next section will be that frilly valance that you just seen.